Brad, welcome to Leeds, welcome to Headingley. What have you made of your new surroundings so far?
Beautiful country. So I haven't been one in the past, in Australia to too much culture, but I feel like living over here, I'm going to have to broaden my horizons a bit around that. But first impressions of the club and the team, everyone's bent over backwards to make sure that my stay is as comfortable as possible. The transition has been very smooth, led by Ian and Matt Cook, our manager. Had a nice dinner with Gary and his wife on Sunday. And the players, they've been very accommodating, and you can see that they're happy to make some adjustments to the way they train, to what they do. But I feel like they're excited for a new opportunity, a new start.
What about the stadium?
Yeah, it's great, isn't it? It's world class. I had a tour the other day, and there's not many I don't know if there's any stadiums where you got the rugby league on one side and the cricket on the other. And then we've been part of some pretty big stadiums in Australia, and my last stadium that I coached at was magnificent. But I think the difference with this stadium is that because it's for the Leeds Rhinos, when you walk through the tunnel and the history of the actual club itself, and then then you go further through the tunnel and the history of the game, it's pretty impressive.
Do the colours make it easier for you to settle in?
Yeah, well, I need to say, but it's not blue and gold, is it? It's blue and
Amber.
Amber, blue and amber. Yeah.
Don't get that wrong, Brad.
Huh? No, I know. Well, that's why I'm being careful. Yeah.
What about the group then? You mentioned the group. Obviously, it's a group that's been through quite a lot to this point. What is the mood that you've detected among the group as you've met them for the first time? I
think they're excited. Look, we've changed, and new faces always comes, a bit of excitement. And there's also, at times, a little bit of uncertainty, or then, unsure on what to expect. But what I've seen is a real willingness to want to find ways to get better, and you can tell that they care about the club, they care about their teammates, they care about their performances, and so they're willing to take on board and whatever I feel is needed moving forward. And so there's been a real willingness with that, which is great. And the pleasing part of the game, the performance the other night for me, the last couple that I've watched closely, is that while they haven't played the best football or managed the game really well, the effort and the want and the desire's been there. Like in the London Broncos game, they probably tried very hard to beat themselves, but under pressure with 6-7 minutes to go, they managed to claw their way back into it and then hold on and golden point. And the pressure in that game must have been enormous, considering the expectations. So, and even the other night, coming out at half time, I wasn't sure really what we were going to get, because I didn't know the group well enough. And they seemed pretty quiet at half time, but then we come out and started well, won the second half. So that shows you that, because they've seen those results just snowball out of control and go, this is all too hard. So that's pleasing.
Have you had a training session yet?
Yep. Yeah, we trained yesterday. Really enjoyed it. It was good, on a personal level for me as well, to get back in after 6 weeks out. It's something, I've been doing for a long time, and you just get into routine and habit and you miss it, like the thrill of coaching and trying to help people and help the staff. But again, the playing group and the club has made the transition so easy for me, and it's made me confident with the delivery of what we did yesterday, because the players allowed it to be, because they were. You can try and make change or improve things, but unless people want to buy into it, unless they want to own it, it doesn't mean anything. And I can already see that, we've got a bit of work to do, and it's only day one. We they've still got to keep buying in 3-4 weeks' time, but all the signs have been positive.
Just from a coaching point of view, what is your philosophy on how the game should be played?
The game is very effort-based. It has to be given. You can't win without effort, but you can't win without it, but you can't also just rely on effort to win your game. And so, we're going to be a team that prides itself on effort and playing for the jersey and playing for each other. The game has to be played at a physical standard. You can't dip your toes in. You can't try and play the game or have a soft approach to the game. So we need to be strong physically and be prepared to put your bodies on the line and go after the collision and enjoy it. And then there's a level of the football part of it, the execution of your skill that you've got to get right, but also managing the game. And not just going out there and saying, we're just going to play footy. You need to have some sort of plan or something that you're trying to achieve in the game. And you need to be chasing the result, which is 2 points, but you need to accumulate a lot of small wins along the way. Those small victories will equate to scoreboard pressure, and that's how you get the 2 points. The team has a real willingness to play football, and I think that's one of their strengths. And now my job is to just try and harness that a little bit and make sure they know how to build the pressure, play the bit of footy that they like to play when the time's right. But we've got to start games better. We've got to build games. We've got to lay a bit of a platform before we just think we can go into playing touch footy.
And Brad, when your appointment was announced, the club said it was until the end of this season. When we spoke to Ian Blease, the sporting director, he intimated that it could be beyond this season. Yeah, well, look, it could be.
And I've been honest about it all the way through. I want to be a career coach, in the NRL, and I feel like I still got a bit of time and some unfinished business there. But also always had the desire at some stage to coach in the Super League, whether that been at my end of my NRL career or as it turned out, it's now. And it's a great place, and I don't want to be sort of drawn into I'm staying or I'm not staying, because I don't know. I just know that I'm going to do my best. I've left my family at home, so that shows that I'm committed to helping the club right now. And if I can do as much as I can to either help the club advance through the rest of this year and next year and beyond, whether it's with or without me.
Also, Ian mentioned that you'd spoken to him about possibly bringing players over, whether it was in a trivial way or not. Is there potential?
No. Well, already I'd had some players reach out to me, and whether, like I said, whether I'm here next year or not, and I'm not leaning one way or the other with that at the moment. I'm just taking it a week at a time, and I'm just trying to enjoy my job and coach the best I can and improve players and improve the team. I think I will want to help and make sure that the club has as good a roster as they can, within the limits of the salary cap and, quota spots, which I'm still all getting my head around, like there's different rules to Australia. So, but there's definitely a lot of interest from players to want to come and play for Leeds. But why wouldn't you? Like, it's a great city, and I've only been here half a week, but great city, and the club, has got everything going for it.
Just lastly for me, what would it mean to you to give Leeds something to celebrate in what remains of this season?
Like I said, I didn't come here, for a holiday. I've come here to try work hard and try and improve the team the best I can. Try and help let the club move forward, because it's a great club and there's plenty of good things about the football club, and now we just need to make sure we're getting better regular results on the field, and then where that takes us, well, that's up to the playing group, really, isn't it?
Thank you, Brad.
No worries.
You said you're not leaning one way or the other yet, which is absolutely fine. What kind of factors, what kind of metrics will shape that decision as the season goes on, and have you set a time frame with the club for when you would inform them of that decision?
No, the club hasn't put any pressure on me whatsoever, and I haven't put any pressure on myself around that. I'm just really excited to see what we produce this weekend, and then the next weekend, and make sure that we're seeing gradual signs of improvement, both at training, both with their intake of their understanding of what's required to win games of footy and how to manage a game. Because, like I said, I feel like the team plays a really exciting brand of football at times, but we're last for errors in the competition, last for errors out of red zone. You need to be able to build a little bit of pressure. You can't play exciting football if you don't have the ball. So there's no time frame on it, and obviously if we go well, we're enjoying it, and I like the place, well, that helps, doesn't it? With the and if the players buy in, and certainly the way the club's treated me, there's no real reasons. But like I said, I still have a real desire to want to coach at NRL level, but I've got a real desire to try and do the best I can right now.
I'm sure you're aware of guys like Brodie Croft, Matt Frawley, Paul Momorowski, who you will have crossed paths with in the NRL. How much do you know about the squad as a whole, the English lads that you've inherited? How aware are you of them?
Well, I tried to do as much once. It sort of come around pretty sudden. So once I knew that, I was on my way here, I watched plenty of Vision. But, you can watch Vision and it's not until you actually have a conversation with them. And I held a meeting with the guys on Friday where we didn't really review the game, but I just talked to them about some things that we want to stand for and look at moving forward and my approach and how I'm going to deal with them. And then having the video session yesterday and how they interact with each other. We train what level of can they actually take in, what's too much for them, what's not enough. So that's when I'll start to learn more. I reckon I learned more about him yesterday than I did watching the 3 or 4 games. Some of the guys yesterday were very pleased on, what we did at training. When there's only a moderate day, and we'll have a big day tomorrow. And, but look, like I said, I can't ask for any more at the moment. But when we get to Saturday, I'm going to be asking for a lot more in terms of our performance.
Just lastly from me, you mentioned recruitment long term and potentially helping the club with that. Have you had any assurances or conversations that there's scope to do business in the immediate term, or are you still trying to get your head around settlement?
Look, I'm still trying to get my head around it. I don't. But what I do know that Ian's got his finger on the pulse and he's right across making sure that wherever we are right now, he wants to still give the squad the best opportunity and possibility of winning games of football. And if that means there's a possibility of bringing players in, he will look at that.
Brad, you've mentioned, errors in red zone and stuff like that. Are they the main changes that you think need to be made in the short term, to start giving yourself an ability to win games?
Yeah, and look, I need to be very careful because I said to the team that I don't want to judge them on what's happened in the past because I don't think that's going to help us. We need to outline, a bit of a plan and what our standards and expectations are as a group, which we've done. And that's probably what's the main priority moving forward. But part of the stuff that we've talked about, if you talk about errors and you just keep trying to concentrate on errors, sometimes it becomes more of a problem than it was, and they stop playing a bit of footy. So we're talking about the style of footy we want to play and how we've got to build a game, and then hopefully that cuts out some of the errors because you're going to go through a game making errors. But on the back of the errors, it's what's probably more important is how we respond to them. You can't go error. Then we give away a penalty or, we come up with some poor efforts in defence, which then the error becomes an issue. Because a lot of good teams make errors, but then they handle it and get back into the flow of the game.
One thing that this team has struggled this year is beating teams that are currently in the top 6, and they've lost the last 7 and like 12 points or more. So there's a big turnaround to do that. I think 7 of your last 10 are against those top 6 teams. Have you seen enough so far to be confident that that can be addressed? Because you're 4 points through the playoffs.
Yeah, look, I get it. It's a short period. I wish I had a pre-season with these guys because I could guarantee you we could make a lot more significant change and improvement. But the team, the aim is that we need to be better than where we sit right now. And I'm looking at it as a positive that there is 7 of those 10 games that are against, but they're against the teams that we need to take points off. So we need to look at that as a positive that might be 2 points for us, but it's 2 points off them. So, and if you can manage to do that on a few of them, they're 4-point games, aren't they? So, I'll keep referring back to the standards and expectations that we've talked about and we've set, and I'm not going to chop and change from them week to week. The boys have got real clarity around how our game needs to look. Now it's a matter of trying to execute that on a weekly basis, and it's going to take a bit of time. But as long as they're committed to doing it and not straying away from it, and hopefully we get a few small wins with it along the way. But when, things don't go their way or that didn't quite work, well, they've got to stick at it and, just trust that we'll come out the other side. But we're actually looking forward to those games because they're pretty important and they can be a real positive for us.
Just lastly from me, obviously at the minute it's short term, but you'll be looking to leave the club in a better position whenever you were to leave. How does short-term decision making and what you try and do now, how do you make sure that that also positively impacts the long term? Because he's trying to get the two right at the same time.
Yeah, well, if we drive real high standards and expectations, that you'd like to think that then that starts to become ingrained in the players, and it takes more than 2 weeks to ingrain good habits. So that we hope that we can start to ingrain those good habits, and that they see the positiveness about it, and see that it's going to better them, and then that they continue to drive it. And that's where it's got to come from, that they continue to drive it, and then hopefully, regardless of if it's me or someone else coaching next year, whoever is doing it, that the club is in a better position to start pre-season than they are right now. But again, I keep saying, like the players have got to want to do it. They've got to want to make sacrifices. They've got to want to be a touch more professional. They've got to want to put a bit more effort in at times when it's required. They're going to want to play. They're going to need to want to play tougher at times, and they're going to need to want to play a controlled game and build a game of football before you can start going into a free flow of just throwing the ball around, because that only gets you so far.
Brad, what was the big pull when you were considering whether to come to Leeds Rhinos?
I really wanted the job, I wanted to coach. So that was a big factor straight away, because you had a lot of people, just sort of packed up and left Australia as well pretty sudden. But that's just the person I am, and I was really grateful to my family because they knew, I just want to coach, and I was going crazy sitting at home doing nothing. But then, the first conversation, and probably the only real conversation before a decision was made that I had with Ian, it was pretty easy to see that he was new to the role, and the desire from the club, and in particular Gary, that they just want the club to try and be a powerhouse. And the things that I'd talked to a few people in Australia about, that, and they said that, their advice, Leeds is one of the better clubs to go to. You'll be well looked after. They want to do well. About the stadium, AMT Headingley Stadium, it's great. So that was a big bonus for us too.
Now you're here for the next 10 weeks, what is the biggest challenge you face?
For me as a coach, it's to make sure it's not, I don't need to try and show the players what I know. I need to make sure it's what they, work on what level and ability they can retain and actually execute. It'd be great to throw a hoop at them, but like I said, I need a full pre-season to implement, everything I'd like to implement. But it's just some subtle changes, because to them trying to learn how to manage a game and build a game and actually play a game of football, rather than just go out there and say, we're just here to play. So if we can make those changes, I'll be happy.
How extensive is your knowledge of Super League?
Probably not as good as you guys. Yeah. But,
Feels right.
Yeah. But look, I'm seeing that as a bit of an advantage too, because I don't really need to worry about not fixing or improving the other teams. I've got to worry about my own team. I need to know more about them, and what it's forcing me to do is to really focus on what our game looks like, and when we pull on a Leeds Rhino jersey, what the style of footy we play. And by the end of the 10 weeks, I want that to be real distinct to everyone that watches us, and we shouldn't be identified or determined by our colours. It should be the style of footy we play. So it's forcing me to put more focus and attention on the guys that actually need it and the club that needs it, which is us. And it's a real us mentality. And then if we can play better footy with some quality players in this team, if we can play some better football, well then teams will have to worry about trying to beat us instead of us worried about us beating ourselves.
Just finally, there's been a lot of talk about you heading up the new NRL franchise in Perth. How far down the line are those talks?
Look, what you get with me, guys, if you ask me a question, I'm just going to be honest with you and tell you how it is. I've had one meeting with those guys, and that was with the Perth government, and that was more just around trying to help them with some questions that they had, some ideas on, what they're looking at, and, pathways and stuff like that. So until any decisions made, whether they're in the competition or not, and who's heading up the franchise and what it looks like, that's as far as it's gone. But, you know, like, does that opportunity excite? Would it excite any head coach? You know, you're getting a clean slate. But I feel like what I've got right here now is a clean slate.
Have you had much chance to think about Saturday's game yet?
Yep.
Right.
Yep. It's all I've been thinking about.
Obviously, how do you regard that one? And then it's obviously tough.
Yeah, well, they're a good side.
Well.
They're playing well. Obviously, an improved for us is our starts over the. Like, you need to start well, and they're a team that if they start well, it goes a long way to their results. So our start's going to be important. And, you know, like I said, I keep saying it's about how we manage our game and build our game, and the start will be part of it. We've done some work on that yesterday, and I think the boys have got like real clarity around what style of footy and how we want to play. Now we've just got to put that into practice, and we're going to get put under pressure. But under pressure, we just got to keep falling back to what we've talked about and, you know, what we need to do.
Obviously, you don't know an awful lot about Hull KR, but I think you maybe just answered this. The focus is on Leeds, is it? For the
Yeah, and, you know, like, I've watched a bit of them, and, you know, they play plenty of football, but I think they you know, on the back of Willie Peters, who's been in the NRL for a while, they try and build a bit of pressure, kick you into the corners, getting you coming out of red zone, waiting for you to make some mistakes, and then, you know, they've got some footballers. They like to drop blokes back underneath and play through the middle a little bit, and so, you know, they're going to test your line, so, you know, your line's got to stay up and be straight. But they're all things that we talked about as a team already that we've got to be better at. You know, we need to get off our line in defence and go after the collision instead of waiting for teams to run into us.
You got a few knocks the other day. Do you know how those people are? Goodemond?
Yeah, he'll be out for 4 to 6 with a AC.
Then McCormack, I think, was something.
Yeah, so hamstring. He'll be a little bit, you know, probably a month as well.
And Ash Hanley was struggling a bit towards the end of the game. Is he? I think he finished the match. Is he okay?
Yeah, he trained yesterday, and, you know, he's just got a couple of things he's got to manage. But the good thing about Ash, you know, like my dealings with him, like I know he plays on the wing, but he's got a real good style of leadership about him. You know, like he's telling me a bit about himself yesterday, and that he's been at Leeds for a long, long time, and his whole career, and you know, he just wants to win, which is great. And, you know, he spoke really well in a meeting that we had on Friday, which was, you know, like usually wingers you don't hear a lot from. So yeah, I think I'm looking forward to coaching him actually.
Some essays here on loan. I don't know if you're aware of what the situation with that is. Whether you're looking.
Who's that? Sorry.
Sam Essay.
Yep.
Are you looking to keep him?
I'm not sure. I haven't, like I said, you know, I've just been trying to get my head around a heap of footy and stuff that we need to do to help improve us this week. And at the back end of the week, once the boys, I'm comfortable where they are with their prep, I'll sit down with Ian and we'll have a look at that.